Welcome to Talk Purpose and Truth with Eden and Kim, shifting you into higher consciousness, the show that elevates, uplifts, and encourages listeners to grow, heal, awaken, and evolve. Eden and Kim include bold topics, special interviews with inspiring guests, intuitive readings, channeled messages from beyond, including celebrities, hot topics to expand your awareness, and time for questions from the audience. Tune in for unprecedented truth, authenticity, on-purpose discussions, and magical moments.
As we go, I wanted to know the titles of your books and your podcasts for our listeners.
Well, first off, my title of my book is Journey of the Awakened Heart, Discovering Who You Are and Why You Are Here. It's all channeled material. I've channeled 5 or 6 bodies from Archangel Michael, and this was my first book, my only book, actually. I published that in 2010, but it came through. I used to do Michael groups when I lived in New York City, and all of that came through in those groups, that entire body of teachings. And so my website for that is journeyoftheawakenedheart.net. You can see all of that. My podcast is Journey of the Awakened Heart. I also have a YouTube channel, Journey of the Awakened Heart. I'm also the co-founder of the Angel News Network with 3 other wonderful gentlemen, Joel Anastasia and Philip Collins. And you can check out all of what we do there at theangelnewsnetwork.com. And I'm also the co-host of a brand new, fantastic, amazing show with 4 other amazing guys, Jay Rothman, Charles Maddox, Josh Richer, and Evis Heath, called Real Men, Real Talk Live.
And where do they find that?
Every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific on YouTube Live and Facebook Live.
Okay.
And go to my site, go to our site, Real Men, Real Talk Live. That is, we're really going gangbusters on that show. Mm-hmm. We're touching a lot of people. It's 5 men getting together to share from our hearts, our experiences in authenticity about subjects that affect us all. Mm-hmm. We just did a couple of shows with our relationship with our mother, our relationship with our father. What brings joy in your life? What is the relationship you're having with yourself? All different types of relationships that really, really hit us deeply from a men's point of view.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very
That's
interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Netflix, here you come, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get started? You do so many different things, but what came first? Was it the
Well, here's the thing, and the most important thing is that before we even get into what came first, because photography did come first, I lived in the corporate world and worked in the corporate world for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
Huh.
And went back to school in the late 80s to study photography at Parsons in New York City with a gentleman by the name of Mario Cabrera. He was my mentor. And then right before I turned 40, at 40 years old, I decided to quit that job, leave that life, and create a whole new life.
Nice.
As a photographer at 40 years old. And I was miserable in that old life.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my life. It was a life that I was just not happy in. I was miserable. The woman I was dating at the time said to me, "Jeff, you hate your job, you hate your life. The only time you're ever happy is when you're with me and you have that camera in your hands."
Wow.
And so one day I was getting on the train coming out of the World Trade Center in New York City going home, and I closed my eyes and I heard her say, "Jeff, you hate your job, you hate your life. The only time you're ever happy is when you're with me." She wasn't there, but I heard it. I opened my eyes and I said, "It's time to grow up." And I was 33.
Okay.
So I went home and I took out a legal pad and made a list. But at the top of the list, I wrote, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I'm telling this story because it definitely leads to something. So at about 11 o'clock that evening, I looked at that list, and photography literally in 3D came off the page and hit me in my solar plexus.
Oh.
And I knew it right then and there. And the next day, I devoted every waking minute of my life to photography all the way up until I quit my job right before I turned 40. And in that whole time period, made a plan and got gigs and got jobs. But the point of it is, the reason why it came off the page and hit me here in my solar plexus is because I connected with where I was supposed to be in my divine plan.
Yeah.
That was the immediate connection. So then,
I love that you're saying this, because I feel that I hear this so often, that people feel they have these weird beliefs, oh, well, I'm stuck. I don't have time. And they're only 40, even 50, whatever. You might live to be 110. Like, why don't you have time to do what you love? And I feel like that's just such a great message for everybody. You can shift out of it whenever you want.
Yeah. I mean, we did a show on Real Men, Real Talk about changing our lives.
Yeah.
And, but I knew it. I didn't have any fear because it was a knowing. It was a knowing in my heart that I was just taking the next step in my divine plan. So when we do that, if we're living true to ourselves, and we do that, that's when doors open. Doorways.
Yes.
Michael tells us that doorways, once we are walking on the path, because life is a succession of doorways, I made that choice, and all of these doors started opening for me. And on a little photo shoot that I was doing, I met a woman, Alexandra Bose, one of my greatest soul connectors in my life. She's my best friend. She turned me on to a gentleman by the name of Robert Baker, who was part of a group in New York called Children of Light. Robert became my mentor, my therapist, my teacher, my healer, and opened me up to this whole world of metaphysics. And
I keep seeing, while he's saying that, I keep seeing angel light.
Cool. Well, he channeled Gabriel.
Okay.
He's a channel, and he channeled Gabriel and other energies. And so the point is photography came, and Robert used to say to me, Jeff, photography is going to be your doorway. So once we connect with our that soul's plan, that soul's divine plan, that's when doorways will open up to so many other things. So the answer to your question, Kim, is yes, photography was first, and then all the other doors just started opening for me like I could never imagine in my life.
Wow. We both have, Eden and I together have had that in the last 4.5 years. It's been just like I would have never imagined. So we totally, right?
Oh yeah, I can relate. It makes perfect sense to me now. Maybe even a year ago that might have not have made sense, but it's really clicking. And yeah, I hope everybody's hearing this and applying this to whatever their situation is, because I think it can help everybody, young and old. Yes. Right.
Yeah, I have a friend in New York, my friend Deb, who I grew up with. She started her photography career at 56.
That's awesome.
56 years old.
56 is the new 35,
Yeah, I mean, it's all divine timing, and it's all when you're ready. Just like channeling Michael, I've been being prepared for it, and it just when I was ready when Michael came to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, divine intervention, divine timing.
Right.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So with your photography, you've photographed people that are amazing, like Quincy Jones and Lisa Marie Presley, Kevin Bacon, Sterling K. Brown. We love This Is Us, by the way. But I wanted to know, and you've been in like Time Magazine and InStyle Magazine. How did it come about? Did you just attract that with your energy and your gifts and talents, or did you meet someone who connected you to all of them, or how did that work?
Oh, wow. Wow, good question. Actually, it all goes back to when I was still working my corporate job. A woman asked me, what do you want to do with this photography? And I said, I love music and I want to shoot music. She had a friend who was a VP at RCA Records in the classical department. I brought my portfolio up there, and 2 weeks later they hired me to shoot James Galway. Well, James Galway, arguably at that time the greatest flute player in the world, in the classical world.
Wow.
So I got in the door that way, but it's just a lot of different things line up, and like I said, they just happen when you need how things happen. But the key is that I knew I needed to show up.
Yes.
I knew what I wanted. I knew what I loved. So Michael has a little exercise to find your passion. It's about what brings you the greatest amount of joy in life. What do you do that brings you the greatest amount of joy in life? So what brings me the greatest amount of joy in life is music and art and actors and film and theater, and that it just brings me so much joy. And then I realized, hey, I'm a pretty good photographer. Let me follow that.
Yeah.
So I followed all of that, and it all began in like 2003 at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, when I met Paste Magazine, and I shot Wilco for the cover, and it just kept on growing and growing and growing and growing and growing, and I just knew where I needed to be, and I kept on showing up. Found back in those days, it's different now. You would go and shoot for magazines. So in New York, you're opening up to new shifts and changes in your life where that is concerned. And you're opening up to the greatness, the powerfulness, and the wonderment of life where that is concerned. As you now move through this specific period in time, this specific episode in time, the specific moment in time on your earthly plane where that is concerned, and where you can now move from the outer to the inner where that is concerned, opening up to the depth and breadth of your heart space, and opening up to the gloriousness of self where that is concerned. So a question that we have for each and every one of you is, where are you moving into the depth and breadth of the fulfillment of your heart space where that's concerned? Where are you fulfilled in your life where that's concerned? Are you fully connected with your passion, your purpose in this lifetime? Do you even know what your passion and your purpose in this lifetime is? It is now time, dear ones, as you are moving through this momentary global pause, this specific episode in your third dimensional realm, where that is concerned, dear ones, is to open up the depth and breadth of your heart space and begin to look into the mirror where that is concerned. Look into the mirror, look at what is transpiring outside of yourself, look at your relationships that you are in, look at the relationship you're having with yourself, look at your life, dear ones. What is transpiring in your life that may no longer resonate for you? Dear ones, you're in a perfect time, a momentary pause in your life to now move from the outer to the inner where that is concerned. Begin to, in many ways, clean up your life. In many ways, move into the depth and breadth of your heart space and see what no longer resonates for you. See in your vernacular what no longer works for you where that is concerned. And also look at what is working for you.
For more information on Eden, go to EdenSustin.com. For more information on Kim, go to KimLifeCoach.com. Make sure to follow them on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Talk Purpose and Truth Podcast. If you loved this episode, you'll love every episode. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thank you for listening.